So you start placing your tail material onto the shank of the jig head, right? And start wrapping it on there. I'm sure, people have different techniques and order of which they do things, but I'm learning.
Welcome to Season 3 of the Kayak Bass Connection Podcast. This is the official podcast of the Southern Illinois Kayak Club Bass Tournament Trail, and I'm talking to one of those fishermen tonight. We have one of our great anglers from the Tournament Trail, Kendall Mezo, on tonight. He lives in the big city of Goreville, Illinois. So how's things down in Goreville, Kendall?
I wouldn't say a big city. We don't even have a stoplight, man. No stop. We got a dollar store though.
That's an important landmark. If you got a Dollar General store, man, you are on the map. At least
Exactly.
in Southern Illinois, right?
That's right.
Well, I appreciate you being here tonight. We're in the middle of the winter here in Illinois. I think right now is the warmest day we've had in quite a while, and I think it hit 32 at my house for a brief amount of time, but it's going to get back right into the deep freeze. So we're going to talk about some of the things anglers can do, right, to get through the winter. If days you can't fish, can't even think about fishing on the water. And I understand you picked up a little bit of a new hobby lately.
Yeah, so I got a vice here for Christmas from my wife and kind of got addicted to it since. So I figured it'd be a nice wintertime hobby and be able to get a little creative and just make something of your own. And it's awesome catching a fish on
Oh
something
yeah.
that you made. So it's so far, I'm obviously still learning, just been in a month, but it's been fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to kind of hear some of your lessons learned. I actually bought one of those vices, I think last year, and haven't tied anything yet. So is there a particular vice that you wanted?
Not really. I just, I didn't want her to go crazy
Mm-hmm.
or feel, as if any,
Mm-hmm.
hobby that we're in, you can kind of go entry level or you can get real crazy with it. So, she picked me up one, I think, believe it was around 50 or $60 from Brass Pro and, some materials and
Nice.
things. And I had a bunch of jig heads. So just got to going that way.
Nice. Yeah, I noticed that, boy, you can spend $25 on a fly vise, or you can spend $600 on the fly vise if
Yeah.
you want to.
There are some
So, what
fancy ones. There's
type
some
of
custom
lures have you?
ones. Sorry.
Yeah, what type of lures have you looked at doing yet?
Yeah, so mainly I've been focusing on crappie jigs. That's a lot of what I do in the winter and spring is kind of target crappie. So I've been working on some hand ties and hair jigs, things like this, if you can see them.
Oh, very nice. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
very nice.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, little,
So how did very cool? How those are crappie jigs, right? So they're pretty lightweight.
yeah, so like 1/16 or 1/8 ounce jigs, so something that you want to throw on some light tackle. But I've also kind of been experimenting with some like flock jigs, um, some heavier jigs with bigger hooks, 4/0 hooks. So
Oh
a
yeah,
little something, more
yeah,
suitable for the bass.
yeah. You don't see many people throwing like a hair jig like that.
Yep.
I've seen the pros that use them quite a bit, but I don't see a lot of local anglers throwing them.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a different technique, and I feel like it does kind of strive in the cold weather, whether it be dead sticking or using it like a swim jig. You can really get versatile with it because essentially what it is I've done some on some 6 cents jig heads and some Berkeley jig heads, but they're swim bait jig heads, so they'll work.
Okay. So if you had to make a kind of a grocery list of what you need the basics to get started, and you get your vise, and then you're using a variety of just pre-made uh, swim jig heads, right?
Yeah, for the bass stuff, and then for the crappie, just using just regular crappie jigs. I buy them in bulk, just like off Facebook groups and things like that, so you can get them cheaper. But yeah, so you need
Okay.
your vise, you need some fly tying material. You can get a grab bag from Bass Pro. There's all these different sites. Hell, you could even go to Hobby Lobby if you wanted, and and get your body material and feather and string and stuff like that. And then we use something called, if I can find where my bobbin went, I don't know where it went. It's usually right here, but it's called a bobbin, and it basically holds your thread.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's funny. We were talking right before this. I picked up a similar hobby of airbrushing some of our crankbaits, and before that, we would drive right by Hobby Lobby, and the last thing I wanted to do was stop and look at interior decorations, right? And now it's my wife that's like, "Do you need anything in Hobby Lobby?" Well, I could always go look because
Right.
they do have quite a bit of selection that you can put on jigs.
Exactly. So that's a good option, and it's a cheap option. But there's some companies out there that sell kits that are geared around, what you'd want to do. So, or you can go all natural with it. Like,
Okay.
I have buckskin here, and different um, goose feathers and squirrel feathers. So you can just really
Okay.
experiment and be creative, which is nice.
If you know a deer hunter or somebody likes to hunt squirrels, you can get a never-ending supply of hair to mess with, right?
Exactly, and it's free.
So, have you kind of limited yourself to just those couple, just like small ones for crappie and a few for bass so far?
Yeah, I really don't know how these trout guys tie these, flies that are smaller than your pinky fingernail. Because even with doing like a one
Yeah.
16th ounce jig head, it gets, you're kind of like this. So I
Oh,
props to
it's
the
crazy.
trout fishermen. Probably first time I've ever said that in my life.
uh, are you interested in trying to do trying to tie something up on camera tonight?
Oh, we could totally tie one up. Yeah, get a couple materials out. Any preferences on color? You want to pick a color?
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna try a live fly tie here. Good old bass fly, maybe. So what you asked about colors? What kind of colors do you have? You got chartreuse, man.
Um, yeah, I got all different colors of the rainbow. Yeah, we got some chartreuse here. Got a couple different deals that we could do. Let's
Nice.
see. Yeah. So you want a bass jig, something a little bit heavier.
Yeah, let's do a bass jig. That might be easier to see too.
Yeah, we can totally do that. I need to clip off this screw lock on this jig head here. I'm gonna be
Okay.
using a 6 cents Divine swim bait jig head. This
All right.
one's 1/4 ounce and has a 4/0 hook, so pretty
Oh yeah.
sturdy hook.
Let's get clean off that hook or clean off that keeper, right? So you get a nice clean surface.
Exactly. Yeah, I tend to get the ones that don't have put keepers on them, but I had these
Okay.
laying around. Take some wire cutters here and pop this off. And there we go. Kind of awkward to place in the vise, but it works.
Yeah. Yeah, the vice is probably
Got
that's
a real,
probably pushing the upper limits of the vice, isn't it? So as
yeah,
far as those jaws, they're pretty fine. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But I've done a few on here already with some
Okay.
bigger size deal. Essentially, you get your thread and your nifty bobbin tool, which is just a thread holder, and it allows
Okay.
the thread to feed out, and you start your base, right? Hopefully you can see this okay. Now you won't be able to see every little detail, but I'll try to narrate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you start with the thread that gets your body on, so you have something to attach it to. We'll trim this tag end here, and you start with some of your skirt material first. So Jared wanted some chartreuse. Maybe we could do some silver underneath it just to give it contrast. Or I
Yeah. A
think I
little
just
bait fish color.
ran out of white. Yeah, yeah, silver or some. I got some white in here that we could kind of play with a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
It has some shimmer in it, but yeah, you start kind of, and this is the part that I was talking about earlier. Like this is where you get creative, right? There's no right answer here. with this. You can make something as simple as you want or as funky as you want, right?
Something you can't buy off the showroom floor, right? That's a custom jig in every sense. You
Exactly.
can make it as
Yep.
custom as you want, right?
Exactly.
I think there's a lot to that saying, something that they haven't seen before. I think fish do get
That's true
conditioned to
too.
certain things.
How many chatterbaits have they seen this year?
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
But they do win tournaments.
Yeah. Yep. In the middle of a snowstorm a couple of weeks ago, I just went out to my workshop I have downstairs, dumped out all my tackle boxes, and it's like, wow, I got a lot of chatterbaits. And just as I thought I needed to try something different next year, I thought, well, man, there are a lot of people beating me with chatterbaits, though.
That's true. I know it's kind of hard to not have one
Yeah.
tied on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
gotta keep
you've
one
done
tied on.
several wraps, and then you put more wraps on top of once you put the material in, right?
Exactly. So you start placing your tail material onto the shank of the jig head, right? And start wrapping it on there. I'm sure, people have different techniques and order of which they do things, but I'm learning.
Mhm.
So if there's any master jig tires out there watching this video, it's
Hey, you're beating
and then
100% of them, especially people like me. I've got one in the basement. I've never even put a jig on it. So
in the box.
yeah.
I figure we'll put some like silver flash in there, and I'll try to move my hand
Okay.
once I get this tied on here. But it gives it, kind of imitates that bait fish. All
Yeah.
right.
So what's the white material that you put on there? Where'd you source that at?
This is synthetic tail material, so this is not natural.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. What about the silver?
Um, Silver, same thing. It's just a different type of flash. So it
Okay.
has like the white is almost like a fox, like a hair material, and then the silver is more of like a crystal flash, kind of a plasticky deal. I've been playing with silicone too. I've taken some skirts off some just regular old jigs and an old chatterbait that was the blade was messed up and was using silicone to give it a little bit more bounce. So a couple different, things that you can do with it.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Um, and a lot of people, like you've seen, like you mentioned earlier, especially the live scope getting popular and popular, seems like they like using those flock and hair jigs to target some of these bigger bass even, which is
Now, does
pretty
the
interesting to me.
sonar bounce off that metallic stuff? Is that why that's popular?
I don't know if it gives it a
Is that
better return or not, or if it's just
yeah?
like they're downsizing, like you said. What
Mm-hmm.
how many crankbaits have they been thrown at them or chatterbaits or whatever? And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more so just the downsize and the profile is what's kind of getting them.
Okay.
That's just my opinion, of
Yeah.
course. And then we got some chartreuse off Jared's
Yikes.
request, which
Yeah, absolutely.
the thread I'm tying with is also chartreuse.
So is that just a nylon thread that's made specifically for flag tying?
Yeah, it's not sewing thread out of my wife's cabinet there. It's wax nylon thread for fly tying. Yep. And it's not expensive. I think it's like $3 or $4 a spool, so
Mm-hmm.
not too crazy. So we're tying on Jared's
Here we go,
chartreuse
wrapping it.
here. Yeah, wrapping
Yes,
it up
that muddy
with
water
some
killer.
flash, right?
Yeah.
Might have to give this one to you at the first
Oh,
trail,
that'd be awesome.
first tournament.
Yeah, we're gonna be fishing again before you know it.
Exactly. What have you been doing? I'll flip it on you here for a bit. What have you been doing to prep
Oh,
for
you
in the
know,
winter?
I mentioned that. Yeah, so I've been. I completely redid my airbrushing setup for my crankbaits that I play with a little bit. Build a new
Nice.
spray booth for it. Build some shelving and stuff like that. So just kind of a lot of busy work in the middle of winter. I'm going to
Yep.
I've got things set up to do a little video here, not in near future. It's kind of the same thing, like an airbrushing 101 for
That would be
crankbaits
cool.
and balsa baits and stuff. Yeah. So I've actually seen
So
people lately. I've seen people tie these hair jigs and actually use the airbrush to change the colors or put like shad dots on them or something.
that's pretty impressive.
They're
I don't
really
know how
quick
good I
ones.
would be with the airbrush gun, but are you like how does that work? Are you get blanks? You get old ones that have got the paint
Um,
knocked off of them?
what I found out is, other people are probably more talented, but I've had a tremendous learning curve with the airbrush. I have screwed up more baits that you can think of, but also have figured out pretty effectively how to strip all the paint off and start over again. But I generally buy from some reputable manufacturers, and you've only got, I think the most expensive blank I have right now is like a 9-inch swim bait that I haven't painted yet, and I think it was $7. But most
Wow,
of them are $1, $3 maybe for the $3 is a pretty good one for like a square bill or something. But
cool. So you get
yeah, it's
crankbaits,
been
jerk
a
baits, anything, any hard bait, I assume, right?
yeah, anything you want, you can get it out there and painted. I had a friend that literally bought like 1,000 crankbaits at a rummage sale for $1. They were ones that guy had walked the shoreline when at a drought and
Yeah,
taken off of stumps and stuff like that. They're pretty rough, but like I've been painting a few of those just because I've got nothing invested in them, and it really is a perishable skill. So like every year I have to kind of get my skills back every winter. So
yeah. I
yeah,
assume if you're not,
yeah, we'll have some.
consistently doing it, you might kind of lose the touch a little bit.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, there's a fine line between spraying a blob of paint and spraying the exact amount you want.
Yeah,
So this is looking pretty good.
but
So would you typically put more material on there, or would this be about what you're looking for?
yeah, so this is honestly about what I'm looking for. I can either decide to put a body on here with what they call
Mhm.
chenille yarn, so you can, pick a different body style,
Okay,
or you can just leave it as is, tie it up, put a dab of Loctite on it and be good to go. So we'll talk
nice,
about
nice.
doing a body here just to show an extra step,
Okay,
but yeah, you
you
could
said
leave it
that's
as is,
Chanel.
and
It's like a
yeah, it's like a yarn, kind
all
of a
right,
thick yarn.
oh,
Um,
thick yarn. Okay,
Yeah, that's what I think of it as, but like kind of on a smaller crappie jig head, if you can see, that's the body
yeah,
of
yeah, looks good.
of it.
Very good.
Yeah, and kind of same thing on this with the bigger bass jig head. You know,
Okay,
just gives it a body to it.
gives you some, yeah, gives you some bulk.
Yep, exactly. I think profiles a lot with fish. The profile is something, and how you present it to them, I think is a little bit more important than the bait
Yeah,
itself.
and you're kind of an area that's got a lot of lakes that have a little clearer water generally, right?
Yeah,
Because aren't you just north of like Crab Orchard and things that not too far from
yeah,
Cedar and
exactly. Yeah, Cedar
okay,
Lake, Crab Orchard's pretty muddy, but I live right next to the Lake of Egypt, and that is 100% a clear water lake, especially in the winter when there's
okay.
no pontoons or jet skis on it.
messing it up, yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, a lot of clear water. So that's why I think presentation is really important. But so I'm wrapping the
Hmm.
the body of this jig head on, or the Chanel, and just kind of gives it that bulkier profile, and just some guys have fancy vices where they got a 360 rotor so they can just hold the yarn and do this and it wraps itself.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, yeah. Well,
But
hey, what you're doing works fine.
yeah, no, it works, definitely does. So
Yeah, I'm interested how you finish this off. How do you keep it on there?
yep, so you start you get your yarn or your whatever your body's going to be up to the head of the jig
Okay.
head, and start
Hmm.
making yourself a collar, I guess is what it would be called. And you
Okay.
take this fancy tool. I don't even know what this thing's called. I think it's called a finishing tool.
All right.
Um, and you gather the yarn and wrap it around the jig head, make a couple. It's basically fastening itself. making a couple knots here.
All right, so that helps you tie the knot you needed to wrap that up.
Exactly.
That
Yep,
looks
to
a
the
lot like
collar.
I make bowstrings, and when you
Really?
serve a bowstring, that reminds me of how you do that. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
It's
So that thing's
basically
ready to fish.
that thing is ready to
Do you
fish,
super
man.
glue, a little super glue? Yeah.
I'll put a dab on
Yeah.
the collar just, for security, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
necessary.
Okay. Very
There's
nice.
Jared's jig.
Awesome. Hey, cool. Can't wait to see you and pick that baby up. Maybe I have
Yeah,
something to trade. Yeah. So,
right.
what else you been occupying yourself with? Sounds like you like to do some crappie fishing, right?
Yeah, so the season doesn't really stop. I mean, right now we have hard water because we got hit by, the ice storm and everything. A lot of people in our region lost power,
Mm.
so it was a pretty bad deal. Yeah, late fall, winter, early spring, I'm chasing the crappie.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice. So, what lakes do you like to hit for crappie?
Yeah, so my home
Lake of
lake, Lake of
Egypt. You
Egypt.
mentioned that.
Yep, Crab
Okay.
Orchard. Those are the two main ones that we fish down here for crappie.
Now, do you fish in a big boat as well as a kayak?
I just got a boat this past year, so I've had buddies that had boats
Nice.
in the past, and one of my really good friends, we'd always go fishing together out of his boat, and I, kind of fell in love with boating, and he ended up selling his boat over the summer, so I was like, well, I guess it's time for me to get one.
Yeah, I always said that's the best boat to use as a buddies. Yeah, it's good to have a friend with a boat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of finding
So,
that out.
yeah. Do you see yourself making that switch to the boat from the kayak, or what do you think?
No, I'm gonna keep doing both. I'm gonna keep doing the trail. I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep throwing the kayak in the back of the truck when I don't feel like taking out the boat or don't have anybody else to go with me, um,
Yeah.
and
Sure.
just keep going.
Yeah. What type of a kayak are you going to be in on the tournament trail this year?
But yeah, so last year was my first year with the trail, and I was in a feel-free Moken PDL, and I'll be using that again this
All
year.
right. Great. Oh yeah, I've heard good things about those.
It's done its job.
So does the rest of your family? Yeah. Does the rest of your family fish?
Not really, no. My boys will come with me every once and again, but not really their thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you never
Yep.
know that. How old are they?
11.
Okay. Well, the 13-year-old, yeah, you've lost him for a while, but
Yeah.
teenagers get involved in a lot of different things. But yeah, they'll
Yeah.
come back to it
Yeah,
as life
they'll go out
changes
in
a
the
little
summer
bit. So
sometimes. We can, get in the water a little bit and catch a couple fish and go home. But after they catch a couple, they're like, okay,
yeah.
we're done.
So what's your tournament experience been like so far? And I don't mean necessarily like how you do finish. I just mean what has the tournament experience met your expectations?
Yeah, no, I mean it's exceeded it with this club. It's definitely
Okay.
exceeded it with Sick. Just there's a different, and I've heard many people talk on this over podcasts and in person, but there's just a different type of camaraderie with the kayak tournaments versus the bass boat tournaments, and the
Mhm.
people that are in the group just are really helpful and cool people. A lot of people coming
Absolutely.
together that
People,
have similar interests, and
yeah. Yeah, a lot of good folks. That's great. So, did you have one specific tournament that was your favorite last year?
so I only got to fish three, four tournaments out of the seven, I would say, or is there six, seven, six, seven?
Okay. I can't remember if
Uh,
there were six or seven last year. I think there were six plus the classic,
okay.
maybe.
So I fished about half of them, and I learned something from each and every one that I went to. Um, and it's like that 6, 7 hours flies by really quick once that morning
Oh,
and
doesn't it?
mid-afternoon starts. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably one of the biggest things that I learned from last season. But I wouldn't even say that the one that I placed on was my favorite one because that day at Little Grassy, man, it was a scorcher. It wasn't the easiest day on the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, it was miserable.
It really wasn't.
Uh,
I would probably say the first one that I went to was my favorite. Even though I didn't do
okay.
well, I only had 3 fish that I submitted that day at Newton. But I think that was probably my favorite tournament just because I was able to see like how things worked, like in the morning when everybody's at the ramp and we did the national
Hmm.
anthem. Like, it just kind of
Oh,
gives
that
you
was cool. I
goosebumps a
got
little
video of
bit.
that. Yeah, the weather was perfect that morning. It was just awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was,
Yeah.
and then everybody just kind of took off and, that was my first time experiencing that in a kayak, right? So I think that was probably my favorite tournament last year was Newton.
Yeah. So during the course of the season, did you find there's one technique or anything that you started leaning towards that you really liked?
I mean, one of my go-tos, my confidence bait is this right here, just a fluke. Like
Fl-
that is my confidence
Fluke.
bait.
All right.
Yep, year round. It
Very
doesn't
nice.
matter if it's the winter, spring, whatever. That's my confidence bait. And when I started out in the tournament trail, I don't know. I don't know if I psyched myself out or watched too many YouTube videos or what, but I got away from my confidence bait and was trying to catch them on a chatterbait, catch them on a swim jig, catch them on this, catch them on that. When
Hmm.
in reality, I just needed to go back to the basics and slow down.
Man, that confidence, that mental preparation that's probably the biggest thing I've taken away from being on the trail for a couple of years now. Is that it's not just fishing; it's much more than that. You have to have the mental game. If you don't have the mental game put together, you're in trouble. So I will definitely have to reach out to you and join. Lincoln is wanting to do a technique specific podcast, which we've been planning a little bit here. So we get something figured out. We'll have to work it in so you can make it and have both of you talk about the fluke.
Oh, okay, is that one of his go-tos?
Yeah, he really likes that. He's pretty successful. He amazes me. And no more time that he gets to spend on the water, he's managing the tournament. He does a pretty good job, amazingly
Yeah,
good job. So we need to keep
that's
him
an
as tournament
understatement.
director so he doesn't win all them. Starting
Yeah,
our recording. Let me
getting the
see what
kayak,
we
trying
got
to get
on
the kayak
time.
ready for the trail, making sure the steering's where it
It,
needs to be. I've had some issues with steering last year with my cables and stuff, so little project
oh,
there. Yeah.
what did you have to do? What did you have to do as far as repairing your steering?
In the feel free kayaks, they have this, I don't know how your rudder system works, but they have the metal cables and they tend to fray really
Okay.
easily on that platform for whatever reason. So I've been trying to think of maybe an alternative to use instead of the wire cables. Yeah.
Huh. Well, I've got an Old Town autopilot, and I tell you what, the rudder is actually controlled. Just it's not metal. It's nylon. I guess I don't know what it is, but I check it several times a year to check for fraying and stuff, and I just haven't seen it happen yet. So I don't know what they're using. If it's a um, special material, but it looks because the first time I saw that, I thought, well, that's going to last a couple of years and that's going to be gone. But so far, so good.
I'll definitely have to look into that because the wire cable is junk on this platform.
Yeah, if you look at some of the higher end paracord stuff that's made of, gosh, do I want to say it's Dyema or something? Um,
Okay.
it's it's a completely different class of material than your standard paracord. Um, I carry some like in a backpack, and you can get different thicknesses of it and everything, but it's incredibly strong, pretty low diameter. But
Yeah.
I don't think strength's probably the issue. It's probably just abrasion. But
I'll have to check some of that out and maybe get that replaced before the season starts because I really don't want to deal with a broken rudder cable on the water.
yeah, that seems to be a common problem with just about all kayaks that have rudders, some sort of steering mechanism, right? So, like my wife's got a native Slayer Max, and replace the cables on that with like Spectre cable, I think it's called.
Mm,
It's basically Kevlar, I think. It's just woven. It's pretty tough stuff because it would stretch. It would just keep stretching every time you'd adjust it. And then in a couple of trips, it stretched a little more. So once we replaced it with that stuff, it was golden. It just hasn't had a problem yet. So
yep. I think
good
he
stuff.
just sold me on the nylon grade or the Dynamo, like you said, because yeah, it's a headache.
Cool. Well, hey, we're at about 38 minutes, which is fine for a good
Okay.
good edition. I know it's a weekday night here. I really appreciate that, Kendall, that you came on tonight. You were like the first person to reach out to me when I said, "Hey, I've got an opening for a podcast," and this is going to be really neat. I like the idea of this tie along thing, and I think you might. You're definitely going to encourage me to go try that here. And next time we get a blizzard and I got nothing else to do, and
Exactly.
now I got one more thing to. I got one more thing to look forward to Hobby Lobby now. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank your pocketbook. Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
buying the different, as you know,
yeah,
it's just like buying different baits. It's like, you guess I want this one, I want that one, I want this. So
man. How much is enough? I don't know, but I haven't gotten there yet.
right.
I'm not sure I'll know when I see it. But so, Kendall, again, thank you for joining the podcast tonight, and we'll look forward to fishing with you all year. It's hey, I've walked away learning something. That's outstanding. We're definitely going to have you back on. We're going to get that fluke episode planned, and we'll let you know
Yeah,
about that.
I,
Okay?
I would love to speak some techniques. I'm a technique nerd, so I
Nice.
definitely love to talk with some other people about it. And as always, thanks,
Okay.
thanks for the invite. We've got a great group going here, so looking forward to the tournament trail.
Outstanding. All right, audience. So thanks for sticking around, and hope you learned something from this little fly tying demonstration. Just kind of chatting about the season to come. And it won't be long before we'll all be back on the water. And whether you're going to be tournament fishing or just fishing for fun, it's going to be here before you know it. So make good use of your time. I don't know anything better you can be doing in creating some jigs or some baits that you can use this spring. So enjoy yourself, and make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast, and we will see you in the next episode.